Hello and welcome to another episode of Technically Analytics. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. This is not your average baseball video. If you're a baseball fan and you like watch baseball a lot, you're probably going to think this video is stupid or maybe it's smart, I don't know. But basically this video is for beginners, for people who maybe like baseball but don't really know a lot about the analytical side of it, or like don't understand analytics at all or how it works. So I'm gonna do a little explainer video. It's gonna be pretty simple, but hopefully it will clear some things up about analytics that maybe you had questions about or you were wondering about how it worked. Yeah, and I'm no like analytics expert. I mean, obviously, technically analytics kind of implies that I'm not. Because I'm technically just giving my opinions on stuff and not really, I don't really create any analytics like I wish I could. I'm not that smart, unfortunately. But yeah, so this video, we're going to start with the hitters portion. It might be two videos, it might be one. I'm not sure yet. But we're going to start with the hitters statistics. And there's counting stats, which are like your strikeouts, home runs, singles, doubles, triples, games played, at bats, batters faced, walks, you name it, all that kind of stuff. Those are counting stats. It's just a count of a stat of a thing. Like in an event, it counts. They keep track of it. Innings pitched, that's a counting stat. It's not like that hard to understand that, obviously. So we're gonna start with this most simple stuff, starting with batting average, or BA as it's sometimes abbreviated. And it's the formula. I'll put the formulas on screen for most of it, because some of them are pretty complex formulas and I don't necessarily always understand how it works, but it is like advanced statistical analysis. So if you understand statistics, you'll get most of the formulas and you'll understand like, oh yeah, that's how that works. And then batting average, hits divided by at bats. It's basically the average percentage of hits throughout a season. So it's the average of all your at bats and hits that you got, and then it's divided, and that's your average. So generally speaking, a good batting average is like a 300 or higher, and not a bad one, but like if it's 300 or lower, that's considered like not as good. And then like below like 217, I think, is like the Mendoza line, where it's bad. It's considered bad. Like you're not hitting good. So the highest batting average in the league currently is Bobby Witt Jr. at 347. He's the highest. That's a really good batting average. Close to 400 is really good or above, and it's very rare. Only a few players have done it. More often back in the day than nowadays, because the game is different. Pitching has gotten a lot better. Used to be a little bit tougher to it used to be a little bit easier to hit because pitchers weren't so sophisticated as they are now. So yeah, Bobby Witt, one of the better batting averages. And then, and of course, you'll see you can probably guess who's in second place just by who the next 4 or 5 statistical category leaders are. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. But anyway, moving on, that's batting average. All right, everyone has a batting average. If you bat, you have a batting average. So when you start the season, you start at 0. You get to hit your first at bat. It's 1,000, right? So, and then it goes from there. And then you have on base percentage, or OBP, and you can see the formula on screen. It's basically all the ways you get on base divided by your bats, and all the ways you get on base, and all the ways you could get on base as well, or reach base. So it's like it's an average, basically similar to batting average, just a percentage of times the player has reached base. The leader in this is Aaron Judge at 462, which is an insane batting average, or on base percentage rather. Sorry. And on base percentage is an important stat because it lets you know, like, all right, guys batting, let's say like 269, right? Nice. And his on base is, if it's above 300, then he's doing pretty good. If it's 462, he's obviously batting way better than 269. I mean, that would be insane. That'd be like mostly just like singles. Like if you just hit singles or just got walked a lot, like maybe that would be the case. But yeah. So again, with batting average, good is above 300, bad is below. Really good is above 400. Yeah, it's crazy. Like guys like Luis Ariz, these guys, Jeff McNeil at one point used to be like that. So these guys on base guys have really high on base percentages and usually really high batting averages. And it usually goes hand in hand. So yeah, you can usually, if a guy has a high on base percentage, he usually has a high batting average too, because that means you're getting on base, you're getting hits, you're getting walked. You know, you're not getting out, basically, is what it means. And then we have slugging percentage, total bases divided by bats. Pretty simple. So, you know, the total bases that you get, each base counts like first, second, third, home. So a home run counts as 4 bases, right? Like you get 4 bases in a home run. So if you hit a lot of home runs, that's 4 bases, and then you divide that by your at bats. It adds up, like, right? So this stat basically favors power. Like the more bases you hit, you can grab, the more power you had because you hit the ball farther, harder. Usually, like, that's not always the case. There's guys that can do it with like just like triples and like a double, stretching doubles. Like speed guys have a high slug and they're not necessarily power guys. So yeah, it's a percentage of, basically slugging percentage is a percentage of percentage based on the number of bases reached in at bats. And of course, the leader is once again Aaron Judge, 699. Wow, almost 700. He's actually insane. Judge is a generational talent, so yeah, he leads basically every offensive category except for batting average, of course. And like again, slugging percentage, you want to be above 500. That's what you want to be. You want to be above 500. That's it. Like if you're above 500, that's a good slugging percentage. If you want to be elite, you want to be around Aaron Judge's. You want to be around like 600, 50, 700 even. Like that's insane. That's like Hall of Fame level. So like, yeah. And then moving on to something a little bit more, a little bit more overview of the whole thing offensively, like a more offensive-minded output. OPS, or on base plus slugging percentage. It's literally just the two combined, right? You take Aaron Judge's on base percentage and you take his slugging and you add those together, right? His 462, his 699, and you get 1.60. 1.160, which is a really great OPS. Really good. If you're one dotting, that's an elite OPS. It's basically the raw percentage of offensive output, right? That's what OPS is essentially. Like it's your total bases, it's your on base, it's all those things, like your hits, all those things combined into one, and it's like, okay, this is how much you produce on offense, and these are the basic like stats that the basic slash lines that you would see. So we're basically reading out Aaron Judge's slash line right there, except for Bobby Witt. But Aaron Judge is second in batting average. He's like a 328 or something. So yeah, he's insane. And now it's going to get a bit more complicated. We're going for OPS plus, and you're like, what the frick? OPS plus, what does that mean? Basically, it's OPS, but plus, it's adjusted OPS for ballpark factors, league average. Now, ballpark factors, if you haven't heard of that before, it's basically they're calculated over long periods of time to find if a park is a hitter or pitcher friendly park. And it's on a scale of like 100, based on like 100 is like average or normal. And then if it's below 100, it's biased towards, it's not biased towards that. And if it's above 100, it is biased towards that. So like, for example, the Rockies home field, Coolers Field is a hitter's park. The bias is for the hitters. It's above 100 for hitters and it's below 90 or below 100 for pitchers. It's like 90 something. So basically what OPS plus is, it uses the park factor to adjust. It uses the player's home park, I believe, because that's where you play that's where you get the most consistent at bats, as a measure to to average it out versus the league. Like it also uses the league average of stuff. The league average. So basically it sets the league average at 100 OPS plus for the league, and that's average. Like that's the middle of the pack. If you're right in the middle, you're 100. If you're below OPS, if you're below 100, you're not doing so good. You're below average, and if you're above 100, you're above average. So Aaron Judge is OPS plus is 219, which is way above average. He's almost double, like 1.5 times better than league average. So, and this is adjusted for his home ballpark too. So he plays in Yankee Stadium. So he would get the Yankee Heat. So it's adjusted for Yankee Stadium and, all like the small right porch and all that stuff. So yeah, it's still crazy. And, Yankee Stadium is a hitter friendly park with the short right porch, like I said. And so OPS plus is a very useful stat. It really, I like using this to see how a player is doing, because it tells you, it's like weighted. It's kind of nice because it's weighted against, ballpark factor and it's a average against the league too. So, you have that in there. And so we're going to move on to another one. This is a little more complicated, but it's a good one too. Batting average on balls in play, or BABIP. And you can see the equation on screen. So batting average on balls in play is a batting average strictly based on balls put into play. But it can also measure how good or effective the defense is against a player. So this stat can be considered a measure of luck, because sometimes you get lucky with defensive mishaps. So it's not necessarily pure luck, but it is luck in some ways, because like, what if you hit the ball to the first baseman and he bobbles it goes past him, and you're kind of fast, right? So you run and you get to the base, like, or you hit the ball and it goes just past the shortstop's glove and you can't get it, goes into the outfield and you get a single. Like, that's BABIP, right? Like, it's not necessarily that you're like, it's not like measuring pure luck, but you have to actually hit the ball good. But it's just like those stupid things where like, oh, if the shortstop was like an inch taller, he would have had the ball or something, right? Like, that's the kind of thing it measures. So it's kind of like stupid luck. And generally speaking, with BABIP, if you're below 300, you're kind of unlucky, and if you're above 300, you're kind of lucky. And like, obviously, like in the middle is like, from 290 to 310 is probably just like average. But so and then sometimes it's not luck at all though, right? Because like Aaron Judge, he hits the ball super hard, as you could tell from his slugging and his OPS plus and all that, right? And the fact that he leads the league in home runs at 42. He hits the ball hard, so it's no luck of his. He's just good. That's what it is. 379. He's just good. There's no luck involved there. It's with him, it's pretty clear that he's just actually good. So yeah, BABIP's a good one to look at when you want to know if it's flaky, like fluky, like defense stuff, or if it's actually the player's good. Because when their BABIP's really high, it can be very lucky, but if they're a power hitter, that's not really luck. Like, they hit the ball in the air over everyone's heads. Of course, they're going to have a high batting average in play on balls in play. So, yeah, with power hitters, you can kind of take the luck out of it. But with like single guys like Luis Arraez, like, it's more like, okay, is he actually really good at hitting, or is he just lucky? ISO, you see the equation on screen. ISO is a percent of bases gotten in at bats, a refined on base percentage telling you how much a player is on base from hits, not from walks or hit by pitches. And of course, Aaron Judge leads the league in ISO 371. This is just like a refined on base. Like I said, it's not that, like, I don't use this one that much, to be honest. Like, it's useful in some cases if you want to know, like, oh, does this guy actually hit a lot, or is he just getting walked or hit by pitch, like some guys do? Max Muncy comes to mind. Mark Hanna, like those guys probably have a lower ISO, even though they're hitting, maybe they're hitting well, but their ISO is like really low. Like, that could be a reason. See, that it's not that useful to me. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. WOBA, WOBA, in other words. WOBA, or it stands for weighted on base percentage, is a version of on base percentage that accounts for how a player reached a base instead of simply considering whether a player reached a base. The value for each method of reaching a base is determined by how much that event is worth in relation to projection. I don't like projected stats, so there's a lot of that, and I'm not going to really cover that. Maybe if this video is popular and people want that, I can cover it, but yeah, projected stats are not really my thing, because I mean, like, you can project stats based on the history of a player, but it's not necessarily like, it's not. You gotta take it with a grain of salt, right? So I'll put the equation on screen. It's complicated, but for example, like a double is worth more than a single because it's more bases, obviously. So it's just another way to measure like how much a guy gets on base and how much that adds into, how much, because getting on base can mean like a single or a walk, or it can mean like a home run or a triple. And obviously home runs and triples are worth more than singles and walks in terms of like runs scored and, impact on the game. Like, because obviously a home run, the runs are scored instantly, no matter how many, if it's even a solo home run, you run around the bases and you score an RBI for yourself. So, and if this guy's on base, that's even worth more than that. So it's like, yeah. So Aaron Judge leads the league in that too, of course. 477, It makes sense. So moving on to another similar kind of thing. This one is a little bit better. It's not so based on expected stuff, which I like, but it is kind of based on WOBA a little bit. So WRC plus, or weighted runs created plus, quantifies run creation and normalizes it so we can compare players who played in different ballparks and even in different eras. This is a nice stat because it does allow like cross era, comparisons, Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth, and Aaron Judge and Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth, and Shohei Ohtani and Babe Ruth, and all that. Like, so the formula will be on screen. Aaron Judge leads the league in that too, 217. This one's a really useful stat for like pure offensive output. And it kind of, and it adjusts for ballparks too. So it's better than WOBA, where that doesn't adjust for ballpark really. It's like just what it is, right? So this one is very useful. Very useful one to have. And again, with weighted runs created plus, it's on a scale. Like 100 is average, so below 100, below average, above 100, above 100, above average, right? And then not last, but almost there. Assorted percentages, strikeout, homer, and walk. These are just basically what it sounds like. They are just ratios of a specific outcome in total at bats. In other words, what percentage does a player strike out, what percentage do they home runs, and what percentage do they walk. I'm just going to give you some league averages here. Their home runs are usually around 3.2% of at bats, guy homers. Average, right? That's the league average for that. I think Aaron Judge is around like a 7 or 8 or something, which is nuts. Strikeout rate, 22%, 22.4% to be honest. But yeah, guys strike out about 20% of the time, which if you think about it is a lot of times. And then walks, 8.5 league average. So yeah, 8% of the time they walk. Obviously, lower strikeout percentage is good. Higher walk, higher home run are better. So that's how you can kind of read those out. Usually taken all together as all three, not really separately. It's kind of like, okay, cool, he walks 8% of the time. Like, yeah, that doesn't really, I mean, it tells you something, but not a lot. But compared to the other two, it's like, oh, okay, so he's, so, you kind of know like, oh, is he a power guy, walk guy, just a hit guy? Sometimes, because this doesn't tell you about hits really, just how much they strike out will probably tell you that they hit a lot. Like if they strike out less, so they're hitting better. So yeah. And then we have run value. Now these two, or a couple stats are from Baseball Savant. Run value is a metric that measures the impact on wins, runs on a per pitch basis. In a batter's view, a positive run value on a fastball and a negative run value on a slider would mean that player is better at hitting fastballs than sliders. Now, my example for this is going to be Shohei Ohtani. His run values are pretty decent when you look at his baseball savant. On his four seam, he gets 17 run value, slider. On sliders, he gets 9. On sinkers, he gets 10. And on changeups, he gets 5. And then on cutters, he's not very good at hitting, -6. So that's what they mean by run value. So yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's basically just like a way to tell how good a player is at hitting a certain pitch. And then there's also run value for pitchers, which we'll go over in the next video or the next part. So yeah, that's pretty easy to understand. It's like they calculate it based on like a formula. I didn't bother to look it up because it's complicated. But basically, it's a good way to just see like, all right, what's this guy hitting well? That's what it tells you, which is very useful. And then we have chase rate, whiff percentage, barrel percentage, hard hit percentages, or chase percentage, I guess. Combining these four because they're worth mentioning, but they're similar to other ratios. They just measure the percentage of times a player does that action. So yeah, pretty simple to understand. They're like, chase is like when you chase the ball out of the zone. Whiff is when you miss a pitch. Barrel is when you hit the ball right on the barrel of the bat. So when you're swinging the bat and it hits the barrel, you get good contact. It hits the barrel right in the fat part of the bat. That's what barrel is. Hard hit is like, how much do you hit the ball hard? That's simple. I mean, if you hit the ball hard, you're probably hitting it over the fence. So that's just the assumption, right? So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for the batters portion. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tune in next time for more analytics explanations and stuff like that. Bye-bye.